Exactly. So the question is, why is this ulna not healing?
Okay.
It's almost like asleep. Okay. But we are happy with the radius. Now the other thing is, you see these two screws are
Right.
backing out.
Right.
There's two reasons why you have backup of screws: infection or too much activity.
Movement.
Which I don't think we can blame that on him, because he hasn't really been that, right? He's not using it, so we can't.
For the most part, no.
For the most part, no. So his thought was, if there's not a lot of movement, could it be infection, right? Causing the screws to back up. Okay.
And does that make sense because it was an open fracture when he was at the
Exactly.
shelter?
And remember, it was nasty, and we give antibiotics, we all
Right,
that, but
right.
it was kind of just set up for that problem because it was an open fracture at the shelter. So here are the options. What he's saying is remove everything, which you saw in the email, then take an X-ray to, right? Because the plate blocks a couple of stuff. Like we
Right,
don't know what's happening
right,
behind it. So
right.
his point is, if you take an X-ray, I mean, if you remove the implants and then immediately take an X-ray, you get a little bit more view because the plates are not there. He says take a culture, figure out what the bacteria is, treat it, and then come back and replate everything.
So what do? You leave him just casted with
Yeah.
no repair at all,
I agree, which worries me a little bit of everything failing.
collapsing.
Collapsing.
So you're thinking,
So I'm thinking, I agree with him. Let's figure out if there's an active infection, but maybe don't be as aggressive as he's doing, somewhere in the middle. Let's figure out that's an infection, so I can go in and remove the screws and culture the screws, because the screws are going to tell me there's an active infection. Culture the screws, and then put him on antibiotics for a while. Remember, as we put Janko on antibiotics, things started filling in.
Right.
So let's figure out if there's an active infection by culturing this. In the meantime, of course, we put him on long-term antibiotics. If there's an active infection, we'll treat him, but maybe wait a little bit until things are better before we remove the implants. And what he was saying about the graft is, so when the bone is asleep, it's almost like it needs a little bit of wake up. So the graft kind of wakes up the bone, so it starts healing. So that's what graft does.
so you put bone graft
In here.
in there.
But I think at this point, let's remove those screws, culture them. In the meantime, we can't start them on antibiotics until we remove the screws, right? Because I don't want to mess up. So we'll remove the screws this week, send it for culture, put them on antibiotic, figure out what we get on the culture, and make the decision then, right?
Okay.
If we don't have an infection there, and we say, okay, is it all movement, which is weird because he hasn't really been moving. This is a very movable area though, because every time you do this, it moves. So we were talking about implants in this area, they just tend to get loose because it's
Yeah.
weak. It's actually, look at this, it's very thin bone,
Yeah.
right? So it's a thin bone compared to kind of this, and it's very movable. So it's kind of an orthopedic nightmare.
So, all right, I think I got that